Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another Off the Lips. Woo! This week we have a wonderful speaker, Morné. I don't know, you probably have seen him walking around the facilities. A finance man by day, a charity man by night. So I think it's really cool. In the green room we have a lot of people that do a lot of really interesting and inspiring things. So we're really excited to have him speak about the charity that he started called One Life Better. So without saying too much, let's give a round of applause for Morné.
Amber, you make me sound like really important, so thank you very much for that. Guys, just to go through, try and go through it pretty quickly, but about 3 minutes ago I thought I'm going to have an audience of one. So Sylvina, I called you, I said, you've got to come, and at least I got two people. Yeah, and I got my next door neighbor as well there, so it was very cool. That made me thinking, while I was thinking that, that I remember a statistic, a research was done with people that are older than 80 years of age, and they asked them one question: what is your greatest regret in life? And I was very surprised, astounded. It's an interesting reply that over 50% or around 50% answered the same question, or answered the same answer, gave the same answer. And that was a simple: I did not attempt enough in my life. I didn't take enough risks in my life. So anyway, I'm taking a risk by sitting up here and having a chat with everybody about something that's close on my heart. And I thought, while I'm here, I tend to be in Jeffreys Bay for like 2.5, 3 months a year. And I've started using the green room, and I'm going to test out a little presentation. So thank you for your time. And I've made some notes, quickly go through it. Okay, so I've read a recent stat that just Americans alone spend around $35 to $40 billion per year on ice cream and sweets. Okay? It has to be Americans because they're the ones that give the stats out, so you can go Google it, I'm telling the truth. But I also saw another stat that the World Food Program estimates that they can eliminate global hunger with $40 billion per year. So why do we still have hungry, desperate and vulnerable humans? It's this question that sometimes when I'm not sleeping I ask myself. So in South Africa, the stats show that the ages between 16 and 30, over 50% in South Africa are unemployed. Of those that are employed, of the whole population of employed, again over 50% earn below 5,500 Rand a month. So if you are, who's overseas guys here? 1, 2, 3, okay, a few, mostly locals, but give that into $340, 250 pounds, 270 euros a month. Now even in South Africa, that don't go very far. So we can see that just with those stats alone, I throw them out there, that there's some real human questions that are being asked and can be asked. And let me expand on this, and let's just challenge our thinking a little bit. So Africa, I'm a South African, I live in Ireland. My wife is Irish, but I've grown up here, my passion is South Africa, and I love this continent and this country. But in Africa alone, we've received hundreds of billions of dollars in aid over the last only 10 years. In 2023, the climax, approximately $75 billion was gifted by international governments and organizations. That's let alone those people that are individually donating and other charities, etc. Yet why do we still see poverty of enormous and disastrous proportions in Africa? We can even just look at Jeffreys Bay. The inequalities. South Africa is known statistically as the biggest differential of inequality in the world. So my point here is there's enough money. Why can we not get these things solved? And that's a big question that some of the brightest minds in the world haven't been able to figure out, because otherwise we would have. So it would seem obvious to me that maybe a little thinking change is required. Don't worry about that. You saw that long enough. I'll fire it up so we don't get distracted. So, what does One Life Better do? One Life Better prescribes to the following. And this is our thinking pattern. We don't say it's right, but I'll give you a little narrative as to why we believe these things. An individual, a human, a person, needs to become a self-producing human and not a self-reliant human. That's known as become a producer or a consumer. My wife consumes a lot, I promise you, on Amazon. So we need to be more producers than consumers. Don't take, we need to give more. So by nature, humans are made to create our own path where one can look after yourself and your family. This is a vital thinking pattern that not everyone espouses to. There's different cultures, there's different ways of thinking. Why? Because that brings dignity, it brings self-respect, and it gives confidence to overcome and make it through the harsh realities of this world. We live in a world that has got a system. It's a financial system. I work in that. So around the whole world, I haven't seen yet, and we've traveled quite a lot, I haven't seen yet where the financial system doesn't influence the world. So your ideology about how we should live is and will be influenced by how the system works. And that can be pulled and changed and argued if it's right or wrong, but the reality is that what happens. And so people end up many times, if thinking the wrong way, don't fit into the system and end up on the wrong side of the gutter. The good news, though, is that humans are made with the ability to control and order our own affairs and our own lives. And as well, we just don't have a better option. So that's been tested and tried in many different theories around the world over the many centuries. Humans are complex, okay, so I'll give you that. Have you ever tried, or have you ever noticed, if you have 10 people around a table, how you make one single collective agreement? Or have you ever noticed, even if you go on a family holiday, trying to figure out what we're going to do on the day? So we're complex, we're fallible. You know, humans, every one of us here, have got our own vices. We've got our own temptations. If we believe it or not, or if we own up to it or not, we've got our own egos. We've got our own power. We want influence. This is the fallible nature of humans. And so, what do we make of that? And how do we make that work in a better way to actually make a difference? So I founded One Life Better to serve and help in a way that can be understood. Because this is quite overwhelming. It can be very overwhelming. You know, when I come to South Africa, when I've lived here, you stop at most robots, that's South Africa term for lights. You stop at that, or you stop at a stop street, and you'll find someone asking for something. And it's desperate. You'll drive past, if you've anyone driven from Aston Bay, Paradise Beach in the mornings through to Jeffreys Bay, you'll find loads of people asking for work, unemployed. There's a desperate situation out there, let alone looking at the shacks that line the street. So trying to do something that can be understood in its simplest form. And for me, that's trying to understand one life at a time. That brings it down to me. So we have got our own controls. We can order ourselves. And I can understand, or try and understand, one person at a time. that got me finishing writing all the nice stuff. Now it's a scribble that I've got to read through. Okay, so I believe that the strongest narrative, the strongest way, a motivation that anyone has is your own personal story. Okay, so we are made to go through difficult things. Everyone does. We all have wounds, we all have things that happen in our lives, and so our own personal story is a very strong motivator. So let me quickly take you through, in a few points, my own journey. So leaving school at 18, my parents did not have the finances to send me to university or college. Okay, so I was like, what do I do? Fortunately, and I'm sorry, what I just said is a lot of people that are sitting here can maybe tell that story, and definitely a lot of people out there. Fortunately, I happen to be able to play cricket particularly well, a sport, and so I got a sport bursary. Just when I thought nothing was going, I got a sport bursary to go to university. Fully paid for, and I studied for free over the next 6 years. Messing around, doing a whole lot of stupid things as a youngster, but eventually I got to something at the end of 6 years, and it changed my life. What I realized was later is that I was given a hand up to better myself. So I got educated also in a place of excellence. Environment matters. Environment needs changing if you're not making it. So after 10 years of, fortunately and blessing of playing professional cricket for 10 years of my life, I entered into the business world. And all of that world success can be taken back to the seed of a hand up. So a seed of receiving something at a young age. So the natural next step for me, and it's obvious when you get that assistance in life, is that you must offer the grace to someone else that what you received. And so therefore One Life Better was born. So let me fire this up again and I'll show you what One Life Better is doing. We try and keep it short. All of that stuff you can find out, all the other. Okay. There's a guy there, don't read. There's a guy there called Blessing Sekramani. Blessing grew up in Jeffreys Bay. He grew up in Tokisequale, which is just down the road here, a township. He lived with his family in a cramped little social house with a shack of corrugated iron and wood at the back of his house. This is something that's not uncommon, right? Yeah, we know about it. I met him by chance, and he was our first recipient of One Life Better, where we decided that we just can't let this guy who's got so much potential, bright, articulate, clever fella, who's his next step, as I spoke to him, was I've got to go find a job so that I can look after my parents. That's a normal narrative that we will hear. So One Life Better decided we're going to scrape together and do whatever we can, and business is a wonderful, if you're in business, which a lot of you guys are, it's a wonderful tool, and my belief, it's a responsibility to make another person's life better when you have the means. What we did was he chose a course and we took the plunge and we enrolled him in One Life Better at Varsity College in Port Elizabeth, and he completed a BCom law degree. First guy in his family ever to do this. I don't even know what university was. Parents not very well educated, but this fella had potential. He completed it within the top 5 in his class. Blessing then made a mess the next year. And I said to him, Blessing, you haven't followed the correct procedures. You're going to make your own way. I said, you come to me with how you're going to solve the problem. And he did. Humans have a great ability when they want to, when they desire to do something themselves. He came and he enrolled, asked, questioned, fought, and got a half half a sponsorship to go do his honors in Germany. I was caught totally unawares about this. We agreed that we were going to help the other half. And today, last year, myself and my wife watched him graduate. Blessing today is employed by that university, and his life has been changed. Blessing flew home in November for the first time here and said to me, he calls me sir, I say I'm Morné, and he said that I don't know how my brother and my parents stay in that house. I want to change that. And he can. And he's going to. He's buying a house. So that's not a fluff or an indicator of a flag of that we did something. We created a vehicle and a system to be able to change someone's life. He took it, and he is a success story. He will return to South Africa and be part of the change at one day or at some stage, if he chooses, but I encourage people to do that. South Africa needs people to change it. So he's now got an honors in his BCom law, and has just also, by the way, been offered a new job at Volkswagen in Germany. So his life has been changed and made better for him and his family. We have a new recipient. There's been a whole lot of recipients, but our newest recipient is a guy called J.D. Oliver. I don't have a picture of him right now, but J.D. Oliver comes from Johannesburg. His parents lost their jobs in COVID. He finished school, was stuck, earning 5,500 Rand a month. But J.D. Oliver is a talented cricketer that happened to ring my ear. And so One Life Better has initiated a funding process, and he is now in Northern Ireland studying at a college while he plays cricket at the local club. And he's changing his life and the future of his destiny. Okay, so what do we believe in? What is our principles? What does One Life Better believe in? And there's a few here, and that's the end of my conversation. We do hand-ups and not handouts. Humans do not thrive if you get given things. If you get given things too much, you become reliant upon the next give-out. Nobody wants to be a beggar. Sometimes you're forced to do that, but there's a vehicle to take you out, a hand up to become self-reliant. We believe in a culture of excellence. There's no such thing as mediocrity. If you want to be mediocre, you stay where you are. So whatever you are doing, you do it to your best ability, even if it fails, because that's actually part of human experience. Lots of failure. We believe life is circular. What that means is that the recipient must become the giver. We believe that mentorship is non-negotiable. That means that everyone here, me, everyone needs mentoring in your life. We all need healthy counsel, because we don't have all the answers. We must create a financial sustainable loop for these things to work. So the initial seed of capital that we've put in, or anyone else puts in, gets circulated by the newly employed recipient who starts earning. And that's part of the signing. Blessing is starting to contribute into One Life Better. So what he does, without him even trying, he is making the next person come along. Too many times I've seen giving, and there's some very worthy causes out there, but it gets tiring and burdensome and overwhelming when you keep being asked by the same people next year for more money. Those are our core principles. So my last word here is be encouraged, because the maths is actually on our side. We can help one person. The maths is on our side. And you can make one life better at a time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Morné. I'm not sure if anyone needs to get back to work, but we are opening the space up for any questions if you might have some. But I just want to say thank you so much. I think what you do is very inspiring. And I hope that it inspires everyone. Also that what you give out to people, you could also encourage each other, and that could also be a hand up. You know? Any questions? Ooh, people are moved. I think we'll just leave it there for now.
Yeah.
Do you have a question? No? Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a beautiful day. Let's give a round of applause.
Thanks, guys.